The galaxy had known peace for too long. It was not a peace built on trust or love. It was the fragile kind, the kind forged from exhaustion after too many wars. Empires held their borders tight. Fleets patrolled in silence. Rulers whispered in hidden councils, each waiting for the others to make the first mistake. No one expected war to return so soon, and no one expected who would start it. It began on the edge of Velen space, near a lonely system no one cared about. The Velen patrol ship Serac drifted quietly among the stars, its crew bored and restless. They expected smugglers, maybe raiders. They never expected what their sensors found that night. "Contact," whispered the sensor officer, her scaled hands trembling. "Multiple ships. Unknown configuration." The captain frowned, his tail flicking nervously. "Show me." The screen lit up. At first, the crew thought the readings were false. The ships were like nothing in the galactic archives. Angular, sharp-edged, built for function rather than beauty. They moved in perfect formation, their engines burning brighter than anything the Velen had ever seen. The captain's voice cracked. "Identify them." The officer's eyes widened. She whispered one word: "Humans." The crew laughed nervously, shaking their heads. "Impossible," someone muttered. "Humans are myths. Ghost stories. They don't exist." But the readings didn't lie. And when the strange fleet hailed them, the voice that came through the speakers was calm, cold, and undeniably human. "This is Admiral Marasaid of the Terran Fleet," the voice said. "You will leave this system now." The Velen captain froze. His scales rippled in fear. No alien had spoken with such confidence in centuries. He tried to answer. He tried to stall. But the humans didn't wait. They fired. The first human salvo tore through the Serac in seconds. The patrol ship didn't even have time to scream before it was reduced to burning debris. The human fleet moved on without pause, silent and precise. Like predators crossing into new hunting grounds, news of the attack spread like wildfire. At first, no one believed it. Reports of pure humans were always dismissed as cult fantasies. But then came the recordings clear. It's undeniable footage of human warships tearing apart the Velen patrol. The galaxy held its breath. The HFY Chancellor demanded answers. The reptilian corps hissed of invasion. The Zell envoy trembled, her silver eyes wide with fear, and in the shadows, the cult of man rejoiced. For centuries they had whispered that true humans would return. For centuries they had hunted scraps of DNA, fragments of history, desperate to bring humanity back. Now, their dream had come true. Supremacy George, the highest of them, stood in the council chamber watching the footage. His perfect pink skin glowed in the light, his face calm and cold. Beside him, hybrid Olivia shifted nervously, her scales catching the glow. "It is them," George whispered. "The pure ones. Humanity has returned." Every empire reacted differently. The core armed their fleets, promising to crush the humans before they grew stronger. The HFY debated alliances, fearing the cost of resistance. Smaller species panicked, abandoning colonies and hiding in deep space. But no one understood what the humans wanted. They sent no demands, no treaties, only silence, until the second battle. It happened 3 weeks later, near the ruins of a Drade fortress. The Drade were feared across the galaxy, brutal conquerors who had enslaved whole star systems. But when the human fleet arrived, the Drade did not frighten them. The battle was swift and brutal. Human ships cut through the biomechanical, Drade vessels like fire through paper. Their weapons burned with strange light, faster and sharper than anything the galaxy had seen in centuries. The Drade fought savagely, their ships roaring with living engines. But the humans fought with cold precision. In less than an hour, the Drade were gone. Not defeated. Not rooted, erased. The galaxy watched in horror. After the battle, the humans sent a single broadcast. It played on every channel, every screen. Every world, the image was simple. A woman in a gray uniform, her dark hair tied back, her eyes steady and cold. "This is Admiral Sade of the Terran fleet," she said. "We have returned. You believed us extinct. You believed us diluted. You were wrong. Humanity does not vanish. Humanity endures. Humanity wins." The message ended. No threats. No diplomacy. Just certainty. And certainty was more terrifying than any weapon. The Galactic Council met in chaos. "They are too strong," the Avar Chancellor shrieked. "They will take everything," hissed the Corps. "We must understand them," whispered Lara, the Zell envoy. Supremacy George stood in silence, his hands folded neatly, his perfect face calm. Inside, his heart raced. The dream of the cult had come true. Pure humans had returned. But something about them unsettled him. They were not the shining gods he imagined. They were not idols of perfection. They were soldiers. Cold, ruthless, terrifying. George whispered to himself, "Ow. This is not purity. This is war." On her flagship, Mara Saeed studied the battle maps in silence. Her officers waited nervously, afraid to speak. Dr. Chen, her science officer, cleared his throat. "Admiral, the Council will fear us. They will unite against us." Mara's eyes narrowed. "Let them," Chen hesitated. "And the cultists? They worship you already. They will twist your image into their prophecy." Mara turned, her gaze cold. "Humanity was never meant to be worshipped. We are not gods. We are not myths. We are survivors. And survivors do not bow." War had returned to the galaxy, not the war of borders or trade disputes, not the war of pride or old grudges. This was something else. The humans had come. They had returned not as saviors, not as conquerors, but as a reminder of what true humanity was. Unstoppable, unyielding, unbroken. And the galaxy trembled. For no one knew if humanity had come to lead them, or to destroy them. They called it the unexpected war. But in truth, it was always waiting. For humanity never truly vanished. Humanity only waited. For the moment to return, the galaxy did not sleep. After the destruction of the Velen patrol ship and the annihilation of the Drade fortress, fear spread faster than light. Every channel buzzed with the same question. What do the humans want? No one had an answer. The Council ordered fleets to guard every border. Colonies fortified their defenses. But against a fleet that erased the Drade in less than an hour, walls felt like paper. And then came the signal. The message came from deep space. On a frequency no one had used in centuries. It cut across every channel, overriding local transmissions, forcing itself onto every screen and speaker. The image was simple. A human standing in a chamber of light. His face was calm, his eyes sharp, his voice low but steady. "My name is Elias," he said. "I am the last soldier of old Earth. I was placed in stasis to awaken when the galaxy was in danger. And now you are in danger." Billions froze. Entire worlds stopped what they were doing to listen. "I bring you a warning," Elias continued. "The machines are coming. They have waited, hidden, patient, and they will erase you all if you do not fight. I know this because I fought them before, and I am the last who remembers how." The signal cut out. Silence swept the galaxy. On the Concordance spire, the council chamber exploded with chaos. "This is manipulation," hissed the Corps warlord, his scaled claws tearing grooves into the table. "A trick to frighten us." "A warning, perhaps," whispered Lair, the Zell envoy, her silver eyes trembling. But his face, his voice, that was not a hybrid. That was human, impossible. Shouted the Avar Chancellor, his wings snapping. "Humans are extinct. They must be extinct." But no one could deny what they had seen. The image of Elias burned in every mind. His eyes, his voice, his certainty far below, in the wreckage of the cult of man's temple. Supremacy, George trembled. His perfect face was pale, his scarred hands clenched tight. Elias's words were a knife in his heart. "The last soldier," George whispered. "No, no, That cannot be. His cultists, shaken and divided, looked to him for guidance. Some whispered Mira's words of diversity. Others clung to George's dream of purity. George raised his voice, his tone sharp as a blade. He lies. He shouted. Do you hear me? He is no savior. He is a thief. Humanity belongs to us. To me. And I will take it back. But even as he spoke, a seed of doubt gnawed at him. On her flagship, Admiral Mara Said watched the signal in silence. Dr. Chen stood at her side, his face pale. Admiral, this changes everything, Chen whispered. If he truly fought a war thousands of years ago, then he knows things no one else remembers. His knowledge could save us, or destroy us, Mara said coldly. She studied the man's face again, calm, controlled, but behind his eyes, something deeper, something dangerous. Find him, Mara ordered. Alive. Her officers bowed and began their search, while the council argued, while fleets scrambled, while cultists prayed. Something else was moving in the black silence between the stars. Old signals stirred. Cold metal woke from slumber. Vast shapes moved in the dark, their minds ancient and merciless. The machines had slept for millennia. They had waited for humanity to vanish. But now, with Elias awake, with humanity stirring, they stirred too, and their first words were not spoken in any tongue. They were written in fire. Colonies began to vanish. One by one, outposts near the galactic rim went dark. Patrols sent to investigate never returned. The only traces were drifting debris, burned clean, erased as if life itself had never been there. The council panicked, and Elias's warning suddenly did not feel like a lie. Elias was found faster than anyone expected, the Terran fleet. Itself delivered him to the Concordant spire. He walked into the council chamber, surrounded by silence, his uniform plain, his face calm. Billions watched the broadcast. Elias, of Earth, the Avar Chancellor began, his voice sharp. You claim to be human. You claim to be the last soldier. But you offer no proof. Elias's eyes swept the chamber. His voice was steady, without fear. The proof is coming. The machines are already here. And when they burn your worlds, you will remember my words. The core warlord hissed, his scaled jaws snapping. You expect us to believe you? To follow you? Elias stepped forward. His gaze burned into the warlord's eyes. I expect nothing. I offer only truth. Believe it or not, it will not change what is coming. The chamber fell silent, and then came the scream of alarms. The council whirled, shook as warships tore out of hidden gates above the city. The sky lit with fire as black, angular shapes descended. The machines had arrived. Panic swept the chamber. Envoys fled, guards raised weapons, civilians screamed in the streets. The council's defense fleets scrambled. But their weapons barely scratched the enemy hulls. From the window above, Elias watched the sky burn. He turned, his voice sharp. Now you understand. The council stared at him in horror. What do we do? Whispered Lara, her silver eyes filled with tears. Elias's face was calm, unshaken. You fight, he said, and you follow me? Because I am the last soldier who knows how. The council chamber still shook from the attack. Outside, the skies burned. Machine warships prowled above the capital, their black holes blotting out the stars. The fleets of a dozen empires fought desperately, but their weapons glanced off the enemy like rain on stone. Inside, chaos reigned. Envoys screamed, guards shouted, alarms wailed. In the center of it all stood Elias, the man who claimed to be the last human soldier. His face was calm, but his eyes were sharp, steady, unblinking, and when he finally spoke, his voice cut through the storm like a blade. This is how it began before, Elias said. The chamber fell silent. Every ear turned toward him. Even as the walls trembled, even as explosions shook the city, the council listened. What do you mean? Demanded the Avar Chancellor, his 4 silver wings trembling with rage. Elias looked at him without fear. I mean, this is not the first war against them. Humanity fought them before. Thousands of years ago, before the galaxy even knew our name, the core warlord hissed, his scaled tail lashing. Lies. If there was such a war, it would be in the records. Elias shook his head. The machines erase the records. That is what they do. They don't just kill you. They erase you as if you never existed. The chamber rippled with fear. Laura, the young Zell envoy, whispered with wide silver eyes. You mean? Entire civilizations could have vanished and we would never know. Elias's jaw tightened. They did. And humanity was almost one of them. Gasps filled the chamber. Even the guards paused, their weapons trembling in their hands. Elias stepped forward, his voice steady, his words heavy with memory. They came from nowhere. They didn't speak, they didn't negotiate. They built gates in the void and poured through like a flood. Every world they touched fell. Our weapons broke against them. Our fleets burned. Humanity was not ready. The council listened in silence, their faces pale, their hands shaking. Ilias's voice grew quieter. But we learned. We learned how they think, how they hunt, how they destroy. And we built weapons to fight them. Not ships, not fleets. Humans became the weapons. The Avar Chancellor's wings flicked in confusion. What do you mean? Ilias's eyes darkened. We changed ourselves. We carved war into our bones, into our blood. We became something the machines could not predict. Something too chaotic to erase. Whispers spread through the chamber. Fear, doubt, awe. Olivia, watching from the shadows, felt her scaled skin prickle. His words cut through her like fire. Elias's voice was steady, but his eyes were heavy. We won, but not without cost. Billions died. Entire continents turned to ash. We buried more dead than you can imagine. And when it was over, humanity was broken. We could not survive another war like it. He drew a slow breath. So we built vaults. We sealed soldiers like me away, to awaken only if the machines returned. And then we erased our own history, so no one would ever repeat our mistakes. The council chamber erupted in shock. You erased your own history? The core warlord snarled. Yes, Elias said coldly. Because humanity's greatest weapon was not its ships, not its machines. It was memory. And memory can be too dangerous to leave in the wrong hands. Lara whispered softly. Then, you are the last memory. Elias nodded. Yes, I am the last human who remembers the forgotten war. And now, I remember for all of you. Alarms screamed louder. The chamber shook violently as the city above burned. Through the wide windows, the council watched in horror as machine warships descended into the atmosphere. Their black hulls glowed with strange fire, their weapons slicing through defense towers as if they were paper. They're coming for us, cried the Avar Chancellor. No, Elias said coldly. They're coming for me. The council turned to him, fear and disbelief in their eyes. Ilias's voice was low, steady. They know I remember. And they cannot allow memory to live. Olivia grabbed Elise's arm, her scales pale. Then we must run. They will destroy the spire. Elias shook his head. Running will not save us. Fighting will. Guards swarmed around him, unsure whether to arrest him or protect him. For the first time in history, the council had no command. Fear had shattered their voices. Elias raised his head. If you want to live, follow me. The chamber hesitated. Then, as another explosion ripped through the walls, the choice was made for them. The guards fell in beside Elias. Olivia followed, her heart racing. Even Lara, the trembling envoy, rose from her seat and ran after him. The last human soldier was leading them into war. The capital was chaos. Buildings crumbled as machine drones swarmed through the skies. Civilians screamed, fleeing through burning streets. The great fleets of the galaxy fought above, but their firepower barely scratched the enemy. Elias moved like a man who had seen this before. Every turn, every path, He knew where the machines would strike. He guided the council envoys through hidden tunnels, down broken streets, past walls of fire. At one corner, drones dropped from the sky, their eyes glowing red, their weapons burning. Elias did not flinch. He snatched a fallen guard's rifle, his hands moving with practiced speed. Shots rang out. Drones fell in pieces, their black hulls smoking. The council envoys stared in shock. Elias fought like no soldier they had ever seen. Calm, precise, merciless. "This is what it means to be human," he said coldly. "To fight even when the universe tells you it is impossible." At last, Elias led them into the ruins of an ancient bunker beneath the spire. Dust covered the walls. Old symbols marked the steel doors. The guards hesitated, whispering. "What is this place?" Olivia asked. Elias placed his hand on the door. "This is where we hid the memory. The last weapon of the forgotten war." The doors groaned open. Inside was a single device, small, unremarkable, glowing faintly with golden light. Laura whispered, "What is it?" Elias's eyes were steady. "It is hope, and it is also fire. With it, we can fight the machines again. But the cost will be heavy." He turned to them, his voice low. "You must decide. Will you burn with me, or vanish into silence?" They called it the Forgotten War because no one dared to remember. But now the memory had returned. And with it came the question the galaxy feared most. If humanity could fight the machines before, what would it cost to fight them again? The bunker was silent except for the faint hum of the device. It sat on a stone pedestal, glowing softly with golden light. No one spoke. Even the council envoys, who had been shouting at each other for hours, stood in quiet awe. The air felt heavy, charged with something ancient. Elias stepped forward. His face was calm, but his voice was sharp. "This," he said, "is what the machines fear most." The words echoed in the dark. Olivia's scales shivered in the glow of the device. "What is it?" she whispered. Elias looked at her with steady eyes. "It's a signal, a key. A weapon built not of fire, but of memory." The HFY Chancellor's wings trembled. "You expect us to believe that thing can stop warships? That light can fight machines?" Elias turned, his jaw tight. "You don't understand. The machines are not invincible. They're predictable. They hunt patterns. They erase what they can predict. But this..." He touched the device, and the glow flared. "This is chaos. This is humanity. They cannot erase what they cannot comprehend." The core warlord hissed. "And you hid it for millennia? Why?" "Because," Elias said coldly, "to use it is to invite the machines. The signal wakes them. It draws them like blood in the water. And once it is broadcast, there is no going back." The chamber grew colder. Olivia's breath caught. "You mean, turning it on brings them here?" Elias nodded. "Yes, and they are already listening." Alarms shrieked above. The city trembled. The machines were tightening their grip. Elias placed both hands on the device. His voice was low but steady. "If we wait, they will erase us one world at a time. If we fight with old weapons, we lose. But if we send the signal, we remind them of what they feared before. We remind them of humanity." The council erupted in chaos. "This is madness." The HFY Chancellor cried. "It is suicide," hissed the core warlord. But Lair, the Zell envoy, spoke softly. "Or it is survival." Elias activated the device. The glow flared into a pulse of golden light. It rippled through the bunker, through the city, through the skies. Racing into the stars, the machine signal had been sent. Across the galaxy, ships and colonies felt it. A strange hum in the void. A vibration in the air. Entire fleets froze as the signal swept over them. On distant worlds, civilians looked up into the night sky, sensing something ancient stirring. Whispers began to spread. "The humans are calling." But the machines heard it too. In the void beyond the rim, the machines stirred like a hive struck with fire. Thousands of ships activated at once, their engines glowing with cold blue light. Their silent minds awoke as one. The signal had called, and they would answer. On her flagships, Admiral Mara Sade watched the golden waves sweep across her fleet's sensors. Dr. Chen's hands shook over his console. Admiral, that was no natural pulse. That was a broadcast. Someone has awakened the machine's signal. Mara's eyes narrowed. She had seen Elias before, during his trial. Now, she understood. He's forcing their hand, she said quietly. Chen looked at her in shock. Then we'll all die. No, Mara said coldly. Then we'll fight. She turned to her officers. Bring us to full combat readiness. If the machines are coming, humanity will meet them head-on. On the ruined council world, the skies darkened further. The machines descended in greater numbers now, drawn to the signal like predators to prey. Elias stood calmly in the bunker as alarms screamed. The council envoys stared at him with terror. You've doomed us, the Avar chancellor shouted. No, Elias said calmly. I've awakened you. Now you remember what fear really is, and now you will remember how to fight it. Olivia's voice shook. What if it doesn't work? What if they aren't afraid this time? Elias looked at her, his face unreadable. Then we burn. But at least we burn as humans. For the first time in centuries, the machines spoke, not in sound, not in words, but in every channel, every frequency, every screen. A single message repeated in cold, mechanical rhythm. Erase memory, erase humanity, erase, erase. The voices filled the skies. The streets, the minds of every being who heard them. Children screamed. Soldiers faltered. Leaders trembled. But Elias only smiled faintly. They remember us, he whispered. That means they still fear us. The machines attacked in force. Their ships cut through the atmosphere, their weapons raining fire on the capital. Fleets of every empire scrambled to defend the world. The core unleashed acid beams. The Avar unleashed silver swarms. The Zell fired waves of plasma, but for every machine destroyed, 10 more came. On the surface, drones marched through the burning streets, erasing everything in their path. Buildings vanished into dust. Statues crumbled into nothing. Civilians disappeared as if they had never existed. The machines were not killing. They were erasing. Elias led the defense like a man reborn. Every move, every strike, he seemed to know before it happened. He guided soldiers into ambushes, cut down drones with ancient precision, activated old codes buried in the city's systems. The council envoys, once powerless, now followed him. Even the core warlord stood at his side, his claws dripping with machine oil. You fight like one born for this, the warlord hissed. Elias's eyes were cold. I was. The device pulsed again, stronger, wider. Elias placed his hands on it. Channeling the memory of the forgotten war, images rippled across the galaxy, flashes of ancient human victories. Battles where machines burned, moments when humanity's chaos broke their perfect logic. Billions saw the visions. Soldiers screamed in awe. Civilians wept. Even machines hesitated, their movements stuttering for the first time. Olivia's breath caught. It's working. Elias's jaw tightened. Not enough. We need more. The bunker trembled. The device glowed hotter, brighter, the stone cracking beneath it. Elias's body shook as the energy coursed through him. Olivia grabbed his arm. Stop. It's killing you. Elias's voice was steady. I was already dead. This is why I was awakened. To remind the galaxy, to remind the machines, to remind you. The light grew blinding. The machines screamed across every channel. The battlefield froze, and for the first time in thousands of years, they retreated. The black ships pulled back, slipping into the void. The skies cleared. The city burned, but it still stood. The machine signal had worked. Silence fell across the capital. Smoke curled into the night sky. Survivors stumbled through ruined streets. Fleets hung broken above the world, but the machines were gone. For now, Elias stood weakly in the bunker. his face pale, his body trembling. The device still glowed faintly beside him. "They'll be back," he said quietly. "Stronger, smarter. They always come back." Olivia looked at him with wide, fearful eyes. "Then what do we do?" Elias turned to her, his voice steady, even in exhaustion. "We remember. We fight. And this time, we don't forget." The machine's signal had been sent. Humanity's memory had returned. The galaxy had survived the first strike. But survival was not victory. And as the machines retreated into the void, one truth remained clear. The real war had only just begun. The capital still smoldered. Skies once bright were now scarred with ash. Streets were filled with wreckage, the bodies of civilians and soldiers scattered among burned stone. The machines had retreated, but their message lingered in every survivor's mind. A race, a race. The galaxy had seen its first victory. Yet it felt like defeat. And so, in the shadow of ruin, the council turned its gaze back to the one who had brought the machine's signal, the one who had awakened them all. Elias, the last human soldier. The trial chamber was crowded, not just with envoys and rulers, but with billions of unseen eyes across the stars. Every world tuned in. Every soldier, every refugee, every leader watched. Elias stood in the center, his plain uniform scorched from battle, his eyes sharp and unyielding. He was not chained, but he did not need to be. The galaxy itself was his cage. The Avar Chancellor spread his silver wings, his voice echoing through the chamber. "Elias of Earth, you claim to be the last soldier of your kind. You claim to remember a war none of us recall. You claim to have saved us. And yet," his wings trembled, "it was your machine's signal that brought this devastation upon us." The chamber erupted in shouts. "He doomed us. He saved us. He's a liar. He's humanity reborn." The core warlord slammed his clawed fist on the table, his scaled face twisted in rage. "Why should we trust him? He may not be our savior at all. He may be the machine's weapon, sent to trick us." Gasps filled the chamber. Laura, the young Zell envoy, stood with trembling silver eyes. Her voice was soft but cut through the chaos. "Then why would he fight for us? Why bleed for a galaxy that mocked his kind?" All eyes turned to Elias. He did not beg. He did not defend himself. He simply raised his head and spoke. "If you believe me or not does not matter," he said coldly. "The machines are real. They are coming. And if you do not fight, you will all die screaming." The silence that followed was heavier than any explosion. The council demanded proof. They demanded answers. Elias gave them both. He spoke of the forgotten war, not as a story, but with detail only a soldier could know. He described the machine's tactics, their methods, their endless hunger. He explained how humanity had once survived by becoming unpredictable. By burning memory into their blood, he showed them fragments recovered from the vault data logs, battle recordings, images of human soldiers standing against machine armies with fire in their eyes. The chamber trembled. For the first time, the council began to believe. But belief was not unity. Some envoys wept, declaring Elias the savior the galaxy needed. Others snarled, demanding his execution before he brought more destruction. The Avar Chancellor spread his wings. "If we follow him, we risk everything. If we defy him, we may still survive." The core warlord slammed his tail. "If we defy him, we burn. I say we kill him now and end his lies." Olivia, standing among the witnesses, felt her heart pound. She remembered the battle, the fire in Ilias's eyes, the way he fought like no other. She whispered to herself, "He is human, but more than human." When the voices fell silent, Elias spoke again. His words were low, but filled with steel. "You think this is about me? You think killing me will save you?" He shook his head. "You are fools. I am not your enemy. I am your memory. Without me, you will forget again. Without me, you will vanish, just as others have vanished before you." His eyes burned as he swept the chamber with his gaze. Kill me, and you prove the machines right. Spare me, and you may yet prove humanity still lives in you." The chamber quaked with his words. The trial was interrupted by sirens. Alarms screamed through the spire, the envoys froze, fear gripping their hearts. From the skies above came fire. The machines had returned, but this time they did not attack the city. They came for the spire itself. Explosions tore through the upper levels. Drones swarmed in, blasting through walls. Panic filled the chamber as guards fought desperately to hold them back. And in the chaos, every eye turned to Elias. He did not hesitate. "Follow me," he barked. Even the envoys who despised him obeyed. The council chamber became a battlefield. Drones poured in through shattered walls, their red eyes glowing, their weapons slicing through guards. Elias fought like a storm. He grabbed fallen weapons, tearing through machines with ruthless precision. He guided envoys to safety, pulling them from collapsing bridges, shielding them with fire. Olivia followed close, her scaled skin slick with sweat, her heart pounding with fear and awe. She saw how he moved, not like a man, but like a force, like war itself reborn. "This," she whispered, "is why they fear him." At last, Elias and the survivors reached the lower levels of the spire. Drones closed in on every side. The council envoys huddled together, their voices breaking in panic. "This is the end." The Avar chancellor cried, "We cannot escape." Lorraine wept. Elias raised his rifle, his eyes blazing. "No, this is the beginning." He turned to them, his voice sharp as fire. "You must decide now. Follow me or die where you stand. If you want to live, if you want to fight, then you follow humanity." The chamber fell silent and slowly, and one by one they stepped behind him. The trial was meant to judge him. Instead, it judged the galaxy. Would they cling to fear? Or would they awaken to the truth? The machines had returned. Humanity had risen. And the real verdict had yet to be written. The council capital had seen wars before. It had been attacked by raiders, threatened by rival empires, and shaken by civil strife. But never had it faced a storm like this. Above the city, the sky was no longer sky. It was fire. Machine warships poured out of hidden gates, black and angular, blotting out the stars. Their weapons carved through the fleets of the galaxy like blades through paper. And at the heart of it all, in the burning ruins of the Concordant Spire, Elias led the survivors into the night. The council envoys stumbled behind him, their fine robes torn and their faces pale with fear. Guards fought to keep the drones back, their rifles blazing in the smoke. Olivia clung to Ilias's side, her scaled skin slick with ash, her voice shaking. "Where do we go? There's no safe place left." Elias didn't look back. His eyes were fixed on the sky, his face calm even as the world burned. "There's no safe place in war, only the next fight." The Avar chancellor stumbled, his silver wings burned and ragged. "You said you could stop them. You promised the machine's signal would protect us." Elias turned, his voice like iron. "The signal bought you time, nothing more. You wanted safety? There is no safety. There is only survival." The core warlord snarled, slashing a drone in half with his claws. "Then show us how, human. Show us how to survive." Elias raised his rifle, his eyes burning with memory. "I already am. High in orbit." The fleets of a dozen empires fought with desperation. The core warships spat beams of corrosive green light, acid energy that melted machine hulls. The Avar formations flew in perfect unison, their silver ships striking like blades of light. Smaller fleets darted and swarmed, their weapons painting the void with fire. But the machines did not falter. For every one destroyed, 3 more emerged. Their weapons cut through shields. Their logic unraveled formation. Their silence crushed morale. From the bridge of her flagship, Admiral Mara Sade watched the chaos. Her dark eyes burned with fury, her jaw clenched tight. "Status," she snapped. Dr. Chun's face was pale as he read the screens. Losses across all lines. Defense fleets collapsing. They're cutting straight for the surface. Mara's gaze hardened. Then we stop them here. Humanity does not yield. Not now. Not ever. She stood tall, her voice sharp as a blade. All ships tighten formation around the planet. If the machines want fire in the sky, then we will give them fire of our own. Her words spread through the cums, igniting her fleet with defiance. Back on the surface, Concordant's spire collapsed in flames. The ground trembled as the great tower, once the proud heart of the galaxy, toppled into ruin. Dust and fire swept the streets, drowning out the screams of thousands. Elias did not look back. He led the survivors through alleys and broken bridges, every step chosen with precision. He knew how machines hunted. He knew where they would strike. The envoys followed because they had no choice. Even those who hated him clung to his shadow. Lara, the young Zell envoy, stumbled beside Olivia.
Oh.
Her silver eyes wide with tears. "Why us?" she whispered. "Why here? Why now?" Olivia grabbed her hand, pulling her forward. Because they fear him. Because they fear humanity in the skies. Mara's fleet clashed with a machine dreadnought, a colossal black warship that dwarfed every vessel around it. Its weapons carved through defenses, its hull unbroken. "Target the core," Mara ordered. "All fire, now." Hundreds of beams struck the dreadnought. For a moment, it glowed with burning light. But when the fire cleared, it was still there, untouched. The bridge fell silent. Then, with a single strike, the dreadnought vaporized 3 Allied ships. The crew staggered in horror. Dr. Chen's voice broke. "Admiral, we can't win." But Mara only bared her teeth in defiance. "Then we die as humans. And dying as humans means we don't die alone." On the surface, Elias and the envoys reached the ruins of an ancient defense hub buried beneath the city. Machines swarmed in pursuit, their drones closing fast. Elias slammed his hand on the console. The old systems groaned, sparks flying. "What are you doing?" Olivia cried. "Calling back the dead," Elias said. Screens flickered to life, showing ancient codes long buried. Elise's fingers moved with impossible speed, entering sequences no one else could understand. The bunker shook. Above them, the city's ancient defense satellites. Forgotten for centuries, stirred awake. Beams of golden fire shot into the sky. Machine ships reeled. Torn apart by weapons they had not seen since the Forgotten War. The dreadnought, a home, staggered as its black hull cracked. The galaxy gasped. For the first time, the machines bled. The battle turned. Fleets rallied. Soldiers screamed with renewed fury. Civilians watched the skies blaze with fire, and at the heart of it, Elias stood in the bunker, his face lit by golden light. His voice was low, but it carried through the chaos, through the fear. This is how humanity fights. Not with fear, not with purity. With fire, with memory. With chaos, above the world, the dreadnought groaned as its core cracked. Mara's fleet unleashed one final barrage. The colossal machine ship split apart, its fragments burning as they fell into the atmosphere. The sky became fire. Silence followed. The surviving machine ships retreated into the void, their gates snapping shut. The fleets of the galaxy floated in ruins, but they were alive. On the surface, civilians crawled from wreckage. The council envoys stood in shock, their faces pale. Elias leaned against the console, his body trembling with exhaustion. He had bought them victory. But his eyes were heavy, his voice cold. "This was only the beginning," he said. "The machines will return, stronger, smarter. They always do." Olivia placed a trembling hand on his shoulder. "Then what do we do?" Elias looked into the burning sky. "We rise, or we vanish." They called it the fire in the sky. The day the galaxy saw the machines bleed. But even in victory, fear remained. For everyone knew the truth, the real war was not yet won. It had only begun. The galaxy had survived. But survival was not victory. The wreckage of the machine dreadnought still burned in the skies above the council world. Its broken husk glowed as it fell through the atmosphere, lighting the horizon with fire. Fleets floated in ruins. Cities lay shattered. Millions were dead. Yet the people whispered a single truth. The machines can bleed for the first time in thousands of years. There was hope, but hope would not be enough. In the bunker below the ruins of the spire, Leah stood weakly against the console. His uniform was scorched, his body trembling, but his eyes burned with grim fire. Olivia stood at his side, her scaled hand still shaking from battle. "You saved us," she whispered. "Without you, we would all be gone." Elias shook his head slowly. No, this was nothing. A test. A fraction of their power? When they return, they will not send one dreadnought. They will send an army. The Avar Chancellor, his silver wings still scorched from fire, snapped his beak. Then we are doomed. We lost half our fleets in one battle. The Core Warlord hissed, his claws dripping machine oil from the drones he had slain. Doomed, unless this human has more secrets to give us. All eyes turned to Elias. He stood straight, his jaw tight, his voice low. "I have one secret left," he said. "But it will cost me everything." The chamber fell silent. Elias revealed what humanity had left behind. Not ships, not fleets, but a final weapon hidden in the void. A superconstruct buried near a collapsed star, built to destroy the machine core itself. "It was our last hope," Elias said. "We never used it, because to use it meant sacrifice." Olivia's voice trembled. "What kind of sacrifice?" Elias looked at her, his eyes steady, but heavy. "It requires a human mind, a soldier, to merge with it, to burn themselves away until nothing remains but fire." The chamber gasped. "You mean," whispered Lorray, "the young Zell envoy, you must die to use it." Elias nodded once. "Yes." The envoys erupted in chaos. Some begged him to do it. Others shouted that no single man should hold such power. The Core Warlord snarled, demanding the weapon for himself. The Avar Chancellor accused Elias of trickery. Through the noise, Admiral Marisaz's voice cut like a blade over the combs. "Enough. The choice is his. No one else can make it." Her sharp eyes locked on Ilias's image. "Soldier, will you do it?" Ilias's jaw clenched. His face was unreadable. "I was awakened for this. My life ended 1,000 years ago. All that remains is the war." The fleets limped through the void, carrying Elias to the collapsed star. Survivors whispered his name in fear and awe. To some, he was a savior. To others, a death sentence. Olivia stayed by his side. She watched him in silence, her heart heavy with words she could not say. At last she asked softly, "Why you? Why always you?" Elias looked at her, his eyes tired. Because humanity was never about peace. It was about carrying the fire. And fire always consumes its bearer. They arrived at the edge of the collapsed star. There, hidden within the swirling darkness, floated the weapon of old Earth, a colossal sphere of steel and light. Its surface cracked, but alive with power. The council fleets formed a ring around it, broken ships rallying for one final stand, and then the machines came. Gates tore open across the void. A flood of black warships poured through, more than anyone had ever seen. Entire stars dimmed under their shadow. The galaxy held its breath. The fleets fought with everything they had left. The core spat acid beams. The Avar slashed with silver wings. Smaller fleets darted and burned, sacrificing themselves to buy time. But the machines pressed forward, endless and merciless. On her flagship, Mara Saeed stood tall, her voice unshaken even as her fleet burned. "Hold the line. If we fall, humanity falls with us." Her crew fought until their hands bled. In the center of it all, Elias stood before the weapon. Olivia was with him, tears burning in her scaled eyes. "They'll remember you," she whispered. Elias shook his head. "No. They'll remember humanity. That is enough." He stepped into the core. The weapon came alive. Light blazed across its surface, golden and burning, brighter than the collapsed star itself. Elias's body trembled, his mind fusing with ancient fire. His voice echoed not in the air, but across the galaxy. This is the last stand. Humanity does not yield. Humanity does not vanish. Humanity endures. The machines hesitated. For the first time, their perfect logic faltered, and then the weapon unleashed its fire. A wave of golden energy tore across the battlefield. Machine warships shattered like glass. Drones disintegrated. Even the gates that poured them into the void collapsed, breaking apart under the storm. The machines screamed in silence. Their perfect logic unraveled. Their fleet burned. But the fire did not stop. The weapon consumed Elias's fuel, burning brighter and brighter until the machines were gone, erased, destroyed. Silenced, the galaxy was saved. But Elias was no more. Silence fell over the void. Survivors wept. Fleets floated broken, but alive. For the first time in living memory, the machines were gone. On her flagship, Mara bowed her head. Her voice was low, but steady. He was the last human, and he saved us all. Olivia stood in the ruins of the weapon, her scales glowing faintly in the dying light. Tears fell freely down her face. "No," she whispered. "He was not the last. Humanity is not gone. Humanity is here, and all of us." Her words spread across the coms, across the galaxy. Survivors repeated them, whispering them like prayer, and for the first time, they understood. They called it the last stand. The day one soldier gave everything to stop the machines. But what they found was not an ending. It was a beginning. For Elias was never the last human. Humanity was never one man. Humanity was all of them, and it would endure forever. The void was quiet. Too quiet. Where once a storm of machine warships had filled the stars, only wreckage remained. Golden fire still flickered faintly across the void, fading slowly into silence. The galaxy had won, but at what cost? Elias was gone. The weapon of old Earth had consumed him. He had burned himself away to destroy the machine core. His voice, once steady and defiant, now lingered only as an echo in memory. And yet, the galaxy trembled, not with grief, but with something deeper. Something older, the truth in the ruins of the Council fleets. Survivors whispered Ilias's final words: "Humanity does not vanish. Humanity endures." The core warlord, his scales still dripping with blood, repeated them to his soldiers. The HFY Chancellor, her silver wings burned and torn, whispered them to her people. Even the smallest species, once ignored and mocked, clung to those words as a spark of hope. Olivia stood in the shattered remains of the weapon. Her scaled hands trembled as she touched the blackened steel. She could still feel him. Not his body, not his presence, but the memory he left behind. Tears rolled down her face. "He was supposed to be the last," she whispered. "But he wasn't. He never was." Laura, the young Zell envoy, stood beside her, silver eyes wide. "Then what was he?" Olivia turned, her voice steady, despite the grief burning inside her. "He was a reminder that humanity isn't one man, or one world, or one blood. Humanity is all of us, and that is what the machines feared." The surviving envoys gathered in the Concordance ruins. Their robes were torn, their faces scarred, their voices heavy. The HFY Chancellor spread her battered wings. "Elias is gone. The machines are destroyed. The war is over." The core warlord snarled. "No, the war will never be over. The machines will return. Perhaps not today. Perhaps not tomorrow. But they will. And when they do, we must be ready." Silence spread. Lara rose, her young voice trembling but clear. "We will be ready. Because we know the truth now. Humanity was not destroyed. It was not lost. It was not one soldier in a vault. It was all of us. It has always been all of us." Some scoffed, some wept, but none could deny what they had seen. The truth was spreading across the galaxy. Whispers turned to voices. On mining colonies, workers spoke Ilias's words around campfires. On broken fleets, soldiers carved them into steel. On distant worlds, children repeated them in classrooms. Humanity endures. For hybrids, once treated as lesser, the words were fire. They lifted their heads high, their shame replaced by pride. For the mongrel races once spat upon, the words were freedom. For the great empires, they were feared because power built on purity was crumbling everywhere. The spark of humanity ignited. On her flagship, Admiral Mara Saeed watched her fleet limp through the void. Her officers whispered about Elias. Some prayed to his memory. Others cursed his sacrifice. Dr. Chen approached her, his voice low. "Admiral, what now? Do we rebuild? Do we chase the machines into the void?" Mara's eyes narrowed, her jaw tight. "We do what humans always do. We rise." Her gaze hardened. "But we do not rise as gods. We rise as a reminder. And if the machines return, or if the council turns against us, then we burn them all again." Her officers fell silent. They knew her words were not a threat. They were a promise. In the ruins of the weapon, Olivia stood alone. The council envoys had left, the fleets had gone, but she remained. Her scaled hand rested on the scorched steel where Elias had vanished. She whispered softly, "You carried the fire. Now I will." For the first time in her life, she did not feel like a hybrid. She did not feel broken. She felt human. And with that truth burning inside her, she turned toward the stars. The machines had been destroyed, but their purpose had been revealed. They had never feared ships. They had never feared weapons. They had feared memory, because memory gave rise to chaos. Chaos gave rise to resilience. And resilience gave rise to humanity. The truth they feared was not Elias. It was not old Earth. It was the idea that humanity could never be erased, because it lived in every voice. Every will, every life that chose to fight. On a distant colony, a child looked up at the night sky. She had never seen Elias. She had never known. Old Earth. But she repeated the words her mother had taught her. Humanity endures. Her voice was small, but it was enough, because that was how humanity lived. Not in one soldier, not in one war, but in the countless sparks carried forward forever. And as long as those sparks remained, machines would never win. They searched for the last human, fearing the end of a story. Instead, they found the truth the machines had always feared. Humanity was never one. Humanity was many. Humanity endures not as a memory of the past, but as the fire of the future.